Well, good afternoon, everyone, and maybe good morning or good evening to some of you. My name is Michael Kieran, for those of you who I don't know. I teach at the Palolo Zen Center in Honolulu, and I'm serving as the current president of the Hawaii Association of International Buddhists, or HABE, as we call it for short. Welcome to HABE's 2022 Dharmmacakka Celebration. Can everyone hear me okay? Is my sound coming through, working? Okay, great. All right. As I think most of you know, Dharmmacakka means Dharma wheel, and our celebration this afternoon commemorates the Buddha's first turning of the Dharma wheel in his first teaching following his great awakening. Our program today will include chants offered by three honored local leaders of the Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana traditions. Following these opening chants, we have the good fortune to hear presentations by three respected teachers on the Buddha's profound teaching of dependent origination, which he expounded in his first turning of the Dharma wheel. Following these presentations, there'll be time for your questions and responses from our speakers. I ask that you please keep your mics muted during the chanting and presentations, but please do turn on your video if you're comfortable with that, so that we can see each other and have more of a sense of our being together for this special occasion. We'll begin our program, as is our custom at HABE events, with a recitation of the Vow of Humankind, written by the noted lay Zen Buddhist teacher and philosopher Shinichi Hisamatsu. Reverend Hirasato Yoshida of the Soto Mission of Hawaii will recite the vow. Reverend Hiro.
Thank you very much, Michael. Can everybody hear my voice? Okay. Vow of humankind. Calm and composed, awakening to our true self, practicing ardently our compassion, making full use of our abilities, according to our respective vocations, discerning suffering, both individual and social, and its causes, recognizing the right course for history to proceed. Let us join hands as kin beyond the differences of race, nation, and class. With love and compassion, we vow to bring to realization humans' deep desire for liberation by making every effort to create a world that is peaceful and joyous. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Hiro. Before we go to our opening chants for our program, I want to just take a moment to let you know that this is the 30th anniversary year of the Hawaii Association of International Buddhists. And just for those who may not know, a little information about our organization. HABE officially came into being in January of 1992 with the adoption of its bylaws. The purpose of the organization is clearly stated in the preamble of the bylaws. It reads as follows: We, the Buddhists of Hawaii, seeking to represent all Buddhist schools and traditions, agree as follows. 1, to foster friendship and understanding among all Buddhist groups. 2, to secure solidarity among them through realization of the essential unity of all Buddhist schools. 3, to promote the development of spirituality for improving the quality of life among Buddhists as well as humanity as a whole. And 4, to organize programs for the achievement of peace and harmony through Buddhism's benign spirit of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, and the pursuit of happiness and well-being for all humankind. HABE's fundamental purpose is to recognize and celebrate unity within diversity among all Buddhists in Hawaii. Although this year is the 30th anniversary of the official founding of HABE, HABE's beginnings extend back almost 50 years to the early 1970s. HABE volunteers are currently researching available documents and archives and have identified 3 phases of HABE's history. 1, a formative phase from the early 70s to 1989. 2, an organizational phase in 1990 and 1991, when HABE became incorporated and received 501c3 tax-exempt status. And 3, the contemporary phase of 1992 to the present time. We are working on a complete history of HABE, and it will be published on our website when it is complete. I do want to mention, though, among those instrumental in HABE's founding and formation were the late Honpa Honwanji Bishop Yoshiaki Fujitani, the late University of Hawaii religion professor David Chappell, and the late Mr. Richard Pa'u, a United Nations diplomat and devout Buddhist. Also crucial in HABE's organizational phase was pro bono legal assistance from the late Herbert Hayato Tanigawa and his son, attorney Michael K. Tanigawa. We are deeply grateful to these fine people and the many others who helped establish HABE and support its work through the years. Today, and for the last 30 years, HABE is and has been an active organization of individuals with diverse Buddhist backgrounds coming together to get to know one another, learn the rich and varied practices of our different Buddhist traditions, and promote spirituality and well-being for all humankind. In this 30th anniversary year, we especially invite you to join HABE and support our work. You can do that on our website. Mahalo. Now, Dr. Porni Natadecha Sponsel will introduce our chanters to open up our program. Thank you. Porni, you're muted. There we go.
Okay, sorry. I was okay. And now begin again. Thank you, Michael. And today, as Michael mentioned, we have 3 chants to open our program from the 3 traditions. The first one is from Mahayana and by Bishop Eric Matsumoto. And he will chant the hymns reaffirming the vows. And everyone learned about Bishop Eric Matsumoto throughout his active work. And actually, he been active with HABE since the beginning. At one time, he was helping us with the newsletter when he was at Moirili Hongwanji. And as you know, we mentioned earlier, Bishop Eric Matsumoto, or his Dharma name, Horaku or Dharma pleasure, is a corner boy. And then he was among the 3, actually I should say he is among the 3 younger bishop for Hongpa Hongwanji. It means that you became bishop before you turn 60, so you turn 60 in the office like Bishop Eric right now. And he graduated from Kona Waena High and Intermediate School. Also get a degree from UH Hilo with a BA in History, Liberal Studies, Japanese Language and Culture. And then his graduate school, a master degree in Shin Buddhist Studies from Ryokoku University. Bishop has been working in this ministerial career since 1992. Served as Hawaii Besuin Onoka'a, Kamuela, Kohala, Pa'ailo, Moirili, and assumed office of the bishop in 2011. We still remember that great ceremony there. And also because of his capability and then interest in many things, he is the recipient of the Crown Prince Akihito Scholarship and Imperial Audience with Their Majesty in the year 1984-85, and also Outstanding Alum Award of the U.S. Hero in 2013. And he also, because of his active in the community, he had the honor to help welcome Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu in the year 2012, and also the Burmese peace leader Aung San Suu Kyi 2013, and His Eminence Kojun Otani in 2017 when His Eminence came to Hawaii. We all know that his community involvement include the interfaith and peace-related function, and anything that address the social issue and concern. We also hear him in the news. Thank you so much, Bishop. And now we will get to hear his chanting, beautiful chant, hymns, reaffirming the vows. He explained a little bit before the chant. Steve? Yeah. Bishop have the video ready. Okay.
There we go.
The hymn, Reaffirming the Vows, from the larger Pure Land Sutra, is a poetic summary of the basic intention of the 48 vows made by the Bodhisattva Dharmmacakka. Dharmmacakka promises to attain supreme enlightenment, to become Amida Buddha, the Buddha of immeasurable life and infinite light, to save the poor and suffering, and to declare the universal availability of enlightenment through the name Namo Amida Butsu everywhere throughout the universe. These vows promise to create a perfect world known as the Pure Land of Enlightenment, where no suffering and evil exists. Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda. I have made unrivaled vows and will reach the highest path. If I fail in any way, may I not attain Buddhahood. Should I not provide to all for countless kalpas to come, aid in times of suffering, may I not attain Buddhahood. I will reach enlightenment, but unless my Buddha name resounds throughout the universe, may I not attain Buddhahood. I will practice the noble path, wisely, mindfully, free of greed. Seek to reach the supreme way, be a guide to one and all. May my power shine great light to illumine and dispel the darkness of the three With eyes of wisdom I'll remove the darkness of ignorance. I will close all evil paths, open gates of highest good. When I attain Buddhahood, light will shine throughout all lands, light brighter than sun and moon, outshining all heavenly lights, giving my virtues to all, not forsaking anyone. I will proclaim the Dharma like the roar of a great lion, bowing before all Buddhas, steadfastly gaining virtues, with wisdom fulfilling my vows. I shall be a guide to all, like the wisdom of my teacher. May my wisdom also shine all throughout the universe and illumine one and all. If I shall fulfill these vows, may all lands tremble with joy. From the heavens wondrous flowers rain down upon all the lands. Namandabu, 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 Namandabu. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda.
Thank you so much, Bishop. Bishop is here with us as well. And however, we use the recording just to be sure everything okay. Thank you very much again, Bishop. Then the next very meaningful chanting, right? And the next one is from the Vajrayana. And this one, Lama Mingma. For those of you who missed the news, Lama Mingma Chopa is the current Resident Lama at Tekyu Techenling. He came to replace Lama Rinchen, who passed away early January this year. Lama Mingma also very busy. That's why today he couldn't be here with us, but he kindly sent the chant, and then we will get to hear his chant. Lama Mingma was ordained when he was 8 years old, and then he been in his service for the Kagyu tradition for all this year. He born in 1978 in Kafok, Ilam, Nepal. He was working under the direction of Khepje Kalu Rinpoche, complete the tradition 3-year Tibetan Buddhist retreat. 2010, Kalu Rinpoche asked Lama Mingma to move to the US to assist Lama Karma Dorje at Kagyu Chenpen in Santa Fe. There, he assumed responsibility for the center growth and the development of Dharma study, updating and expanding Sasana practice. Kagyu Teaching Ling was found 48 years ago in Hawaii by Dorje Chang Kalu Rinpoche, Tanpa Kagyu lineage holder and renowned Tibetan meditation master. His reincarnation, Khepje Kalu Rinpoche. By the way, you recall, right? He gave a Dhamma talk for us as well earlier this year. Now, oversee the monastery Dhamma Center and retreat center of the in Asia, US, Canada, Europe, and South America. So his chant that we will get to see also a recording is called The Verses of the Eight Noble Auspicious Ones. And he also sent us the reading, and if anyone interested, I can forward to you in your email. Please send your request to Help Hawaii email. But thank you, Steve.
Aloha in Rashid Lake. I am Lama Mingma, current resident teacher, KTL Buddhist Center, Hawaii, Honolulu. So I got a request from HAV, Hawaii Buddhist International Association. So today I'm going to chant prayers name called is Verses of the Eight Noble Auspicious Ones. So I got request quite long, almost 1 month. So I was busy doing things here, so I could not make soon before. So today I'm going to chant these prayers. So actually these prayers is we are very profound with the prayers. So this prayer came actually direct from Buddha Shakyamuni. So and this is a very profound prayers. So actually all the monastery we do these prayers every morning. So we believe actually these prayers once we conduct the prayers, so our daily basis like wish become the fulfill, even not only in monastery. So all the Himalayan region like in Tibet, in Bhutan, Nepal, so all the country, the Buddhist lay people every day they conduct these prayers. Even the lay family, they conduct these prayers like early morning. So before they start their activities. So this prayer says once you chant these prayers, and then all your obstacle will be pacified. So this is a very strong belief, and then this is a very auspicious prayer. So I'm going to chanting today. So please listen, and then you can follow the chant, and then if you want to do these prayers like your everyday daily life, so you can chant these prayers. Actually, these prayers very short prayers, only 2 pages. So I think yeah, you can prayers this prayer. So let's start the prayers. Omo nan zi nam da ran shi lu tu yun bi ta xin chung jun xi nan shu yun ba yi san jin chen dan gin dian pa yan bi so yun kun la yun chan so la yun tan chan chan xi xiu yun chun mian chalam bo yun san dian tu yun chu gong yun chan bian qian ba yun qian zhang pa pa yun kun la yun kong ban jian qi yun cha yun pa xin yun lu yun po yun trang pa yun zi la yun zhang pa la yun dang ni yun sim jian tam jian lang gong yun cha yun pi pa la yun yi zi mi yun zian pa yun zi la la yun cha yun pa la di yun sen zi ma yun tu yun bi yun zhan xi yun pa la yun pi la yun wa di wa la yun xin pan qi lan cha yun zi la yun qian bu la yun xu no ban dian du yun jin zi ni jin rin zi wan gian ban jiang ba la yun sa yin ning ban jin ba yun na yun ba sa la yun nam ki ning ba yun pan chun ko yun du za yun ba la yun dran jin bin ga la yun lu yun xin yun ta nren bo yun ta wa lan ji ni ni yun chang zhen lian na ma yun zha xi yun pa lan ji yun qiu chang ju zhen ban jie lan chang zi no ye rin qi nian dun ju zha xi si rin ji niang di jiong yang pong zang yi wang ka ya ma la yun nin zhang dun dang pong zo yun pa la yun bi o yun mi nu bo yun qi la zin yun wang ji yun ko yun lu di rin qin dan chun jin jin cha yun zi ni qi ni yun chun du yun cha wan chun jin jin ji ma yun ki zo yun o yun chen bi yun pa la yun pi li wei yun zha xi la man jie lan chang zi lo yun sang ba yun qian ban din juan si yun mi lo yun mi lo yun dian dan qi lang bo yu yun ko song yun pan jian bo yun dang lu ma yun mi Zaya nam doyen sen dia la zin koyen. Dayan tri shuya lan dong 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 yen duran jien zini. Pi waya ran dien chen dien jalayan zini. Zini yen sa zima yen ni zayen kilin chayan xian pilay. Jin dian jiang wan jie lan chang zi. Lo yan tang jian ding drin jia wan so yan pa. La yan kin dang yan ni wan se wan ko yan shi. Ni yan din dian plan bi sam dian yin shi yan zhuo. 乍现天莲蓬什么草样巴拉修。Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lama. And the next chant will be from Theravada tradition. And also, he couldn't be here. He is busy at the temple. So on Saturday, every Saturday, they have meditation, and all the people attend the temple for the service. So the last chant from Theravada, his chant is exactly our topic. It will be on the Paticca Samuppabbad. So we know that in Pali, Paticca Samuppada, and in English we know it as a dependent origination. Anyway, so Phra Mahasuthep Apollo, the abbot of Wat Dhamma Vihara Meditation Center in Hawaii, want to chant that, and then let me introduce to you a little bit. Also, he has been active with HEB for many years, and he finally started this temple in 1994, and with a group of people, and still working on the Thai temple. We don't have a big donor, so they have to try to collect and then buy the land. He has a 5-acre land out in Waianae. It's very beautiful area, and then he has the sitting suitable for the meditation with 7 cubicles and about 10 rooms available for meditation retreat. He has a pavilion chapel that really look like the temple in Thailand, and another 5 barrack accommodation for religious missionary. The temple is located in a peaceful and clean environment that is best suitable for quiet study and meditation practice. So Phra Mahasuthep, very good in try to get things done, and also for himself as well. After he built this temple in 1994, he went back to study more about meditation and Buddhism, and received his doctorate degree in Buddhism from Natananta International Institute of Buddhist Study in Sri Lanka at the town called Teraniya, and he just recently received that about 6 years ago, 2016. So he will give us in the chanting of this Paticca Samuppabbad, and then you can hear in the chanting, and then when Venerable Dhammananda gave a talk, so it's very, very meaningful because it have connected as well. So Steve, please.
ฏิจจสมุปบาทปาทะอิทัพพิกขเวอริยสาวโกปฏิจจสมุปบาทันเยวะสาธุกังโยนิโสมนสิกโรติอิมัสสมิงสติอิทังโหติอิมัสสุปาทาอิทังอุปัชชติอิมัสสมิงอสติอิทังนาโหติอิมัสสะนิโรธาอิทังนิรุจติอวิชชาปัจจยาสังขาราสังขารปัจจยาวิญญาณังวิญญาณปัจจยานามรูปังนามรูปปัจจยาสรายตนังสรายตนะปัจจยาภัสโสภัสสะปัจจยาเวทนาเวทนาปัจจยาตัณหาตัณหาปัจจยาอุปาทานังอุปาทานปัจจยาภโวภวปัจจยาชาติชาติปัจจยาชรามรณังโสกปริเทวทุกขโทมนัสสุปายาสาสัมภวันติเอวเมตัสสะเกวลัสสะทุกขขันธัสสะสมุทัยโยติอวิชชายตเววะอเสสะวิราคะนิโรธาสังขาระนิโรโทสังขาระนิโรธาวิญญาณนิโรโทวิญญาณนิโรธานามรูปนิโรโทนามรูปนิโรธาสรายตนะนิโรโทสรายตนะนิโรธาปัสสะนิโรโทปัสสะนิโรธาเวทนานิโรโทเวทนานิโรธาตัณหานิโรโทตัณหานิโรธาอุปาทานนิโรโทอุปาทานนิโรธาภวะนิโรโทภวะนิโรธาชาตินิโรโทชาตินิโรธาชรามรณังโสกปริเทวทุกขโทมนัสสุปายาสานิรุชันติเอวเมตัสสะเกวลัสสะทุกขขันธัสสะนิโรโทโหติ
Thank you, Venerable Dharmmamuni. And I should mention that all these three chants are also served on our advisory board for here. Bishop Eric Matsumoto, Lama Mingma, and also Venerable Dharmmamuni. And also I want to recognize also the speaker, two of the speaker, Bishop Watanabe and Venerable Gamma Lecture also on our board of advisory board for him. And we have one in the audience. It's Bishop Kozen Ishikawa from Jodo Mission that enjoy us today as well. So as you can hear that from different chants, different flavor, and from the Mahayana, Vajrayana, and Theravada, the language are all different. And so, and I think that when we look back, when the Buddha was teaching and he used Pali, so the Dharmmamuni chanting give you a little bit of the flavor, how when the Buddha was teaching at that 2,600 years ago, that would be sound like that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Bishop Matsumoto and Lama Mingma and Venerable Dharmmamuni. We're now going to move into our panel discussion. and hear from our three teachers on the Buddha's profound realization of dependent origination, or dependent arising, as it is sometimes translated. As I mentioned to my own Sangha in encouraging them to attend this event, it can be said that the Buddha's realization of dependent origination is the very substance of his awakening, the very substance of no substance at all. Dependent origination is the heartbeat of the arising and cessation of suffering, the noble eightfold path of liberation from suffering, and the most profound appreciation of the ecological nature of the universe and all life within it. Dr. Purni will introduce our first presenter, Venerable Dhammananda. Purni.
Okay, thank you, Michael. นมัสการค่ะหลวงแม่ so I greet her in Thai and we call her หลวงแม่ is like that because address she as a venerable mother, right? And actually we know each other what since 1970, right? When we were just young and active in academic. Dhammananda actually is a Dr. Chasuman Kapilasingh, and she got her doctorate degree, and you can see that in the bio in the program. I just want to give you behind the scene, right? And Long Mae Dhammananda has been very active in the beginning in the 70s. I think it's only two of us that teaching philosophy and religion or two different universities. And then we have all these activity together. And I always admire Venerable Dhammananda because she always well organized. And actually, I just found out that she only 1 year older than me, but she very mature and organized very well. And I'm just, acting like my husband says, 25 years old, right? And then she gave a direction for all the meeting that we have. And after that, she traveled to India a lot. And actually, I just know that because of her faith, we call it the karma, that she's going to become the first bhikkhuni in Sri Lanka tradition in Thailand. And actually her mother was the first nun, but from Taiwan, the Chinese tradition. If you know the history of Thailand, we're very, very, how you say it, masculine focused, and because of the culture. So all the bhikkhuni we cannot ordain in Thailand because it's very very difficult. I checked with all both sides, and so is that another topic. Maybe we can talk about that in another here, because we also have Gama Lecce who has a similar experience about being a female bhikkhuni. Anyway, Luang Mae or Venerable Dhammananda has been very, very much, and she very much active in trying to revive this bhikkhuni in Thailand and follow in her mother's footsteps, who already built the temple that she's the abbess right now near Bangkok. A very beautiful temple, and I visit there a couple of times. And when she wasn't there because she's very busy traveling, and also Venerable Dhammananda has tried to. She also has a family with grown-up children, and then suddenly I heard that Dr. Chasuman is retiring from teaching, and she's going to pursue the bhikkhuni. And then she had to go to study and then have a process like about many years before she can become full ordination, and then came back to Thailand and continue with temple that all female monk and bhikkhuni in there. And now I understand that 270 bhikkhuni, but it's all from Sri Lanka tradition, because it's going to take another, I don't know how long, for us to really revive is in Thailand. I'm not so sure if we can use the term revive, because I checked with some of the source. They said there never been a bhikkhuni in Thailand. That's the topic that to be continued. But today, Venerable Dhammananta will enlighten us, continue from the chanting from the Dhammamuni on Patijja, and she will try to explain all those links, and also to hear with us in person for the discussion, and good preparation as always, well organized. So she already have the video recording to show first. Thank you so much.
Greetings to Mahasangha. I'm very delighted that Ajahn Purani actually invited me. I feel I'm coming back to Hawaii again. And Michael, thank you so much for mentioning about David Chappell. That was my great friend. A very, very good friend. I'm sorry he passed away early. Otherwise, I could still feel his energy among you HAPE members. So today I will be focusing on dependent origination, not only learning about it, also all of us need to practice. And Ajahn Suthep, the Thai monk who started the chanting, what he chanted is exactly what I'm going to speak. So please forgive me if there are loopholes here and there. Towards the end, I will be presenting with my video, which I prepared earlier. But today is our Sunday, very busy day. I might not be here with you for the question and answers. But my sister, my Dharma sister, Venerable Karmalekshya Somo, I bow to you, Venerable. So good to be together in this space again. So not to take too long, Ajahn Purani can begin with the video.
So one thing I should mention that Venerable Dhammananta frequently visit Hawaii for the meeting, and I remember when we walked through the East-West Road and with that tree, and every time in summer it's all white. I think you remember, and she always said it's so beautiful. And so every summer when I walk through that UH campus on East-West Road and see that, I always think of you, Long Matt. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so Steve, could you please?
Sure. Sorry about that. I had a call coming.
Okay.
Greetings from Thailand. My respect to Venerable Sangha, to my host, and to Ajahn Purani and my friends. I am happy to be sharing with you through this special program. After more than 20 years, Ajahn Purani contacted me if I could share my understanding on Patijja Samuppada, dependent originations. So here I am. I take you back a little bit when the time of the Mahabodhisattva, when he left the palace, he had 3 quests in his mind. That is, how to be free from the suffering of old age, sickness, and death. And after 6 years of wandering around, testing out with different teachers, he came to one understanding that to be on the extreme of self-mortification is not an answer, did not bring him wisdom, did not bring him the right path to understanding, until after 6 years he was enlightened.
And this enlightenment, his enlightenment is actually discovering of what he went out in search of. That is how to be free from old age, sickness, and death. So his discovery is very interesting. And he shared his discovery the very first time when he started preaching about his discovery was to the 5 ascetics. And the very first teaching he gave us was the Four Noble Truths. So we look in these Four Noble Truths. The first one is dukkha, suffering. The second one is samudaya, cause of suffering. The third one is nirodha, end of suffering. And the last one is marga, the path to end suffering. Paticca samuppada, or dependent origination, that we are focusing today is in samudaya, the second one, and also will be in the third one, as I will be sharing with you later. So now we look at paticca samuppada. The circle of paticca samuppada, it is a circle of 12 links of dependent origination which causes suffering. The first one is avijja. Avijja is ignorance. Ignorance about what? Not knowing about what. It's very interesting that I will eventually will be touching on. The second one is sankhara, composition. Third one, the third link is vijnana, consciousness. The fourth link is nama rupa, name and form. The fifth one is salayatana. Salayatana I explain very simply as doors. You know, the 6 doors of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, this touch, and the mind. And what we perceive through them, that is the object that we see through the eyes, we hear through the ears, smell through the tongues, smell through the nose, and taste through our tongue, and touch on our body, and mental perception through the mind. Then we have phassa. Phassa is contact. The next one is vedana, feelings. Next one, 8, is tanha. Tanha is desiring. Number 9 is upadana. Upadana is clinging, really holding on to the object, wanting it to be very strong, desiring. And then bhava, becoming. Jati, birth. And the last one, old age and death. And then start another cycle of, again, avijja, not knowing, like that. So this is the 12 links of dependent origination. People say that you can actually break the circle at any point, but as I have understood through studying again for this particular presentation, I realized that no, we really have to, there is only one point that we have to break and cannot be at any other link, as I will be sharing with you later. So now I go into details of the first one, avijja, ignorance or not knowing. Avijja, not knowing the true nature of phenomena, that is not knowing the true nature of our own self, not knowing the true nature of things. The 3 characteristics that we need to know, that all things fall under these 3 characteristics, namely anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Impermanence, it cannot stay, and there is no real self. There is no real self as such. Because avijja is not knowing the truth. So we hold on to the self, to this self, as real, as permanent, and it can stay forever, it seems. The word dukkha, which sometimes we translate as suffering, it also, when we talk about the condition, it is that condition which we cannot retain. Just to give you an example, that I come into this hall meeting you, I feel comfortable now, I'm okay now, but if I have to sit here for 3 hours, for example, no, I cannot. I cannot be in this position for 3 hours. I need to go to toilet. You know, that is what it means, that cannot stay. this condition cannot remain, cannot stay. Then we go to the second one, also to repeat that this avijja, this not knowing the true nature of things, is actually the real cause of everything. As we do the chanting, we say, avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vinyanang. Because of this avijja, because we do not know the true nature of things, that's why it leads to another one. It is the cause leading to the second one, and the second one itself, as a result, itself is also a cause leading to the next one in this loop of 12 links of dependent origination. It depends on each other. And while number 2 depends on number 1, number 3 still depends on number 1, number 4 still depends on number 1. Very interesting. The second one is sankhara. Sankhara is mental composition. Oh, I need to remind you that in this loop of 12 links of dependent origination, we are talking about the mind, not the body, about the mind. So this sankhara, this mental composition, it is caused by the first one, by not knowing the true nature of things. So therefore, whatever we understand, whatever we think is distorted. Then number 2, sankhara, leads to vijnana. Vijnana is consciousness. Number 4, namarupa. Namarupa is often misunderstood and explained in a way that it does not allow us to understand paticca samuppada as it should be. Sometimes it is name and form. Nama is name, like my name now, my ordained name is Dhammananda, and my form is this person sitting here, and we call this person Dhammananda, like this, But it is not mind and body. Sometimes it is explained as mind and body. No, it is not the body. Here, all these 12 links is all mental link in chitta, the word mind. Then the fifth one is salayatana. Salayatana I explain as the doors, sensual doors. So we have eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and chit, and the mind. These are the doors to receive perception. Perception comes through each door: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and that which the mind perceives. Very interesting. The sight cannot come through the nose. The sight must come through the eyes only. So this particular door is open for this particular object, sensual objects that comes through the doors. It has to be the proper door that it is linked. But now this salayatana, by itself, when it comes to the next one, is contact. When I see things, I look at you, I do not see you, unless there's another one. Vijnana, that consciousness must be there also. So it is not just simply me, my eye here, and you as object of my perception here. I must have vijnana present also. So it is not only number 4 is causing number 5, it is also number 2 that is causing number 5, like that, So this circle of 12 links of dependent origination, it feeds each other. Not only this immediate one, 4 to 5, but also 2 to 5, 1 to 5, like that. Then we have, we talk about phassa, this contact of the eyes seeing the object, contact. And we must have that vijnana, consciousness, so that I know, I see what. Otherwise, I just see my eyes just looking straight at you, but I don't see you. That happens in our life often. And then the seventh one is Vedana. Vedana is feelings. Feeling could be like, dislike, or neither. In order for us to have these feelings, there is subject. There is that subject, that I, that self, presents itself in this feeling. Otherwise, I wouldn't know whether I like it or not. I like or I dislike what I see. So that number one, self, which is distorted from the first one, from avijja, because it is distorted because I believe that I is permanent, whereas the true nature of things, I itself is not permanent, is not permanent. Then the eighth one is tanha. Tanha is desiring. Desiring when I see this object, just to give you a very, very simple observation, like I look at a cup. I see this cup. I like this cup. And now I desire. I wish it's mine. I wish this cup is mine. Then it leads to very, very interesting thing. Number 9 is very, that which really cause suffering. 9 is upadana. Upadana is clinging, that it must be mine. This I, me, my, mine, that started from the first one, avijja, not knowing the self, holding on to the self as real. That works very strongly here, that unless I own this object, I suffer. But even if I don't own the object, if I don't get what I want, I suffer. But if I do get what I want, I also suffer. Because actually this allows us to be immediately, whether you cling on to it, you get it or you don't get it, it already allows you to be in this cyclical being. The next one, number 10, is bhava. Bhava is becoming with deep-rooted I, the ego. The first one really takes form. Number 11, then of course it leads to chati. Chati is birth and old age and death. That completes the circle. And then old age and death leads to further avijja, make another round. Now, there are two ways of understanding this. Buddhaghosa seems to have explained that it needs the past life, present life, and future life in order to see this cycle of dependent origination. But Venerable Buddhaghosa, Venerable Buddhadasa. Venerable Buddhadasa is, I met him this is contemporary. Venerable Buddhadasa pointed out that Venerable Buddhaghosa actually explained from his, he had Brahmanistic background, so he explained this Paticcasamuppada in the Brahmanistic way of understanding it. So in fact, we are talking about this cyclical 12 links of dependent origination, which brings about suffering. So every time when there is that upadana, clinging on to I, me, my mind, wanting it as mine, it already allows us to have this becoming and birth in that particular suffering, particular suffering. So in fact, one day you can have this cyclical of 12 links of dependent origination many times. This cycle of dukkha can arise many times as soon as we go on clinging to I, me, my mind, because I, me, my mind to begin with is no real self in the beginning. It is caused by avijja, number 1 in our links, 12 links of dependent origination. So therefore, this cycle, it is like you push on the button and the light comes. The light that comes on is the light of suffering. So every time when it is completed, the light of suffering appears. So each day that we go on, when you have this like or dislike, holding on, when holding on to I, me, my mind expresses itself, that is we complete the circle of these 12 links of dependent origination. So, and then we now I need to take you back to the Four Noble Truths. You have dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, and makkha. These 12 links of dependent origination, this paticca samuppada, it is in samudaya, cause of suffering, because we talk about these 12 links of dependent origination which causes suffering. So, when we do the chanting, we have this avijja pattaya sankhara, sankhara pattaya vinyanang. That cycle is causing suffering. But at the same time, the same cycle, the same circle, now you reverse it. Now we have avijja yatveva nirodha sankhara nirodho. Reverse. When you reverse, it is ending of suffering. So when you move like this, move according to avijja, then of course you get dukkha. You have cause of suffering. This is in samudaya, cause of suffering. But when you reverse the circle, starting from understanding, it is not avijja, now it is vijja. You understand the true nature of things. Therefore, you reverse the cycle. When you reverse the cycle, then it is nirodha, that is end of suffering. So paticca samuppada appears in both samudaya, cause of suffering, arising of dukkha, and it appears also in nirodha, that is end of suffering. So this paticca samuppada in nirodha would be end of suffering. Yes, you understand this? So I think this is a very interesting to understand paticca samuppada, to understand this 12 links of dependent origination which causes suffering. It is also, on the reverse side, you have this 12 links of dependent origination which causes end of suffering. This is very beautiful. One time the Buddha actually had a conversation with Venerable Ananda, and Venerable Ananda said that it is easy to understand paticca samuppada, but the Buddha said, Ananda, paticca samuppada is complicated, intricate, and unless you understand paticca samuppada, you understand the 12 links of dependent origination, or the reverse of dependent of origination, actually you can be enlightened. So to understand paticca samuppada is actually very strong confirmation from the Buddha, is to understand, to be able to be enlightened. So my presentation is not complete. It is still lacking here, lacking there, but I have tried in these past few days that I have accepted invitation. I'm thankful to Ajahn Porani because it allows me to really look at paticca samuppada again and to have a better understanding of it. Yet all of us, we need to study paticca samuppada and we need to put it into practice so that we understand each step of paticca samuppada, and more important, that we are able to remove that avijja, the first link. As soon as we can remove the first link, then we can destroy this, or we can end this, these 12 links of dependent origination which causes suffering. Thank you so much.
Ah,
กราบขอบพระคุณค่ะหลวงแม่
thank you so much, Venerable Dhammananda. Our next speaker is Bishop Watanabe of the Shingon Mission, and our board member Jiko Nakade will introduce Bishop Watanabe. Jiko?
Aloha, everyone. Good afternoon. Bishop Clark Zenkyu Watanabe was born in Honolulu, Hawaii on April 10, 1969. He graduated in May 1993 from the University of Hawaii at Manoa with a BA in religion. Through a scholarship administered by UH Manoa History Department, he attended the Urasenki Gakuen Professional College of Chado Midorikai program from 1990 to 1991. He was ordained at the Koyasang Samboing Temple on December 10, 1994, and given the Buddhist name Zenkyu, then entered the Koyasang Senshu Gakuin Seminary in April 1995 and graduated in March 1996. From 1998, he was the assistant minister at the Koboji Shingon Mission in Honolulu. On June 2, 2008, he was assigned as the resident minister of the Honomu Henjoji Mission. And in 2012, he was also assigned as the resident minister of the Hamakua Shingonshu Kyodan Pawilo Kongoji Mission. In April 2016, he became the 13th bishop of the Koyasang Shingon Mission of Hawaii. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Bishop Watanabe.
I thank you very much. First of all, when I took on this the request, I thought it was going to be very easy. Since taking on the request, I spoke with my sensei, my teacher in Japan, and he gave me some materials, and that's I had to juggle with 3 different languages. Actually, 2 different languages, Japanese and English, so my talk may be kind of fractured in a way, because especially in Mahayana, this theory or thought of dependent origination is very complicated, I guess. Yeah. So, and I sort of, as my ordained name indicates, means Zenkyu, means absolutely long time. So I always take that as I take a long time to absorb these concepts. So I'm not an expert. I'm not a scholar in any means. So I'm just a follower in the way, like all of you. So this is just my, I guess how I sort of, at this point, distill this teaching of dependent origination. As you know, as you've seen in the flyer for the Habe, the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, supposedly said, one who sees the dependent origination sees the Dharma. One who sees the Dharma sees dependent origination. So, again, as was stated before, this is a very important concept in Buddhism. I think the explanation from the previous speaker was, very, very good. I mean, but even, I think it is said that even Shakyamuni had a difficult time, I guess, he sort of supposedly said that, this dependent origination is profound, difficult to see, difficult to understand, yet peaceful, sublime, but beyond the scope of mere reasoning and subtle. So, I mean, it is, I guess, for all of us that follow Buddhism, I mean, I guess, we have to not be discouraged, but to be encouraged by this. Even, as I said, Shakyamuni Buddha had a difficult time to wrap around, I guess, to truly understand the concept. In Mahayana, Buddhism especially, sometimes you have very philosophical schools, yeah. And they've developed this theory or teaching of dependent origination to the point where you know, all things that are born of causes and conditions are originally devoid of any permanent nature, which leads to the theory of emptiness. And then also to the point where in the Hanya Shingyo or the Heart Sutra, this dependent origination is actually denied. Yeah. We don't have the time today to go into what the nitty gritty of all, and I'm sure there are many books out there that can probably explain it better than I can do it. And especially one of the Mahayana schools, the Huayan school, or the Kegong school in Japanese, believe that all existence or elements of existence are unobstructed and penetrated each other. And this led to the theory of Indra's net, where on the cross of the net, there's a jewel, and the jewel reflects the light of each other jewel. So, and it just went on and on, yeah. For Kobodaishi, I guess, you know, that's sort of abstract, a very abstract teaching. For Kobodaishi Okukai, he sort of, his take or his development on this dependent origination teaching was that the world, the material world and the spiritual world are made up of the 6 great elements of water, fire, wind, and consciousness. And these elements are inherently pure. And as Kobodaishi writes, these 6 great elements create all the Buddhas, all sentient beings, and the material worlds. The 6 great elements are the creating. The created ranges from the Dharmmacakka Buddha to the beings of the 6 transmigratory paths. So there are differences such as coarse and subtle, large or small among the created. They are not external to the 6 great elements. And for those initiated into the Shingon school, there is a meditation that one does daily concerning the 6 great elements. But going back to the 12 links of dependent origination, in one of Kukai, the founder of the Shingon school in Japan, in his work, The Precious Key to the Secret Treasury, he puts the to the 12 links of dependent origination on the 5th level of religious growth and evolution out of 10. And he named the chapter, The Mind That Has Eradicated the Causes and Seeds of Karma. Of the book, his work, The Precious Key to the Secret Treasury, it may seem that Kobodaishi is sort of putting down or looking down at this understanding or enlightenment to the 12 links of origination, but it is not, he doesn't look down. In fact, this is like, as it was explained to me by my teacher, these are just the building blocks. You know, it's like going to school. You know, when you go to school, when you learn math, you cannot sort of jump to calculus. You cannot, right? So you first learn addition and subtraction and multiplication, division, fractions, and it goes on from there. Yeah. So these are the building blocks. of what the Kobodashi believed to be religious growth. Yeah. But when you look at it, and especially for all of us in our daily lives, how can we this teaching of the 12 links of origination, dependent origination. And this sort of has been my theme of my ministry, I guess, how to put Buddhist concepts, how can people use that in their daily lives? And one of them is meditation. Yeah, meditation. By quieting the mind and concentrating. If a deluded thought arises, recognize it, but don't pursue it. When delusion ceases, the mind source becomes empty and tranquil. So meditation is important in practice. And the second, I guess, practice, and then this is not specifically to Shingon Buddhism, but is the practice of the Juzenkai in Shingon, the 10 good precepts, or as my good friend translated, the 10 guides to wholesome conduct. And it's almost, almost similar to, I guess, the 6 paramitas, but the 10, Juzenkai 10 guides to wholesome conduct are: 1, I will not kill or harm any living being. 2, I will not take what is not given. 3, I will not have improper sexual relations. 4, I will not speak falsely. 5, I will not speak carelessly. 6, I will not speak abusively. 7, I will not speak to cause discord. 8, I will not have thoughts of greed. 9, I will not have thoughts of ill will. And 10, I will not have false views. And interesting enough, these 10 Juzenkai is recited during the lay, when we have services here at the temple by everyone. Yeah? And this was sort of like a discovery for me too. And according to one source, Kukai, this is the practice of the precepts or the guides to that 5th level of Kukai's religious growth, what that one should practice. Also, interestingly enough, especially for the first one, the first guide or the first precept, I will not kill or harm any living beings, or any living things, is not, according to my sensei, is not only physical killing, yeah, and I guess according to my sensei, you have to sort of turn that thinking sort of around, and that thinking is, how can we utilize the potential of things or people or living beings to its greatest potential? Yeah. Meaning, according to my sensei, everything has value. Yeah. And and nothing is not valuable or not worthy. Everybody has, or everything has its place, or can be, or we should try to find a way to to bring out the potential in everyone. I presume. Yeah. So whether we are conscious or not of this 12 links, I think we're able to sort of, I guess, be mindful of our actions, and hopefully we can sort of, through also meditation, to truly understand the 12 links, and also apply that into our daily lives through the 10 guides of wholesome conduct. This is just my take on it, and probably this will be my work from now on, to sort of for myself to put this into practice also. So this ends my talk today. Again, thank you. I'm sorry it's sort of fractured. Again, I was dealing with three different languages and stuff like that. Most of my sources were in Japanese, so I had to try to reconcile that with the English translation. So again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my views on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bishop Watanabe. You put it in very practical terms that I think apply to all of us. Thank you. I have the honor of introducing our next speaker. She's someone whom I must have crossed paths with many times when we were both students in the Department of Philosophy at the University of Hawaii, but whom I've only had the pleasure of getting to know a little more recently through my involvement with HABE. Venerable Karma Lekshe Tsomo began her Buddhist training in the Zen tradition in Japan in 1965. In the early 70s, she took up Vipassana practice in the Goenka tradition, and also learned various other systems of meditation with the Dalai Lama and other teachers in India. She is currently, with just a few more months left, professor of Buddhist studies at the University of San Diego, where she teaches Buddhist thought and culture, world religions, and also a course in dying, death, and social justice. She was ordained as a novice nun in France in 1977 and received full ordination as a bhikkhuni in Korea in 1982. Lekshe is a founder and past president of Sakyadhita, International Association of Buddhist Women, and director of Ja Myag Foundation, an innovative education project for women in developing countries. Some other significant credentials that she carries are that she was a surfer and a singer and a yoga teacher. Lekshe loves animals and lives off the grid at La'i Peace Center in Wailua. Lekshe, we're very honored to have you with us. Take it away.
Thank you, Michael. So, good evening, everyone, and aloha.
Hello.
The topic of dependent arising. Now, my Pali teacher said it should be dependent arising because there is no origin. And so he would always correct us and say dependent arising. Paticca but refers to the idea that all conditioned phenomena, that means things, all things, arise in dependence on other phenomena. It basically teaches the law of cause and effect. Nothing exists on its own. All things depend on causes and conditions. All Buddhist traditions accept this basic teaching of the Buddha. The 12 links of dependent arising elaborate the concept in a rather complicated way to illustrate the root cause of all the unsatisfying experiences of samsara, meaning cyclic existence. Due to the actions we create, ignorant of the law of cause and effect, we continue to experience birth, sickness, old age, and death repeatedly. Due to our ignorance about how wholesome actions lead to fortunate results and unwholesome actions lead to unfortunate results, we keep spinning in the cycle of existence, lifetime after lifetime, experiencing all manner of problems and miseries. Fortunately, in his wisdom, the Buddha very clearly taught the law of cause and effect to illuminate and help to eliminate the root cause of our problems, which is ignorance, the first link in the chain of dependent arising. This is called beginningless ignorance because we've been spinning around in samsara since beginningless time until now. If we develop the wisdom that understands the true nature of things and understand the law of cause and effect, we can unwind the cycle of existence and become free from all problems and miseries. Ignorance is the root cause, the basic problem, and wisdom is the solution. At present, we mistake what is unsatisfactory to be satisfactory, what is impermanent to be permanent, and what is unsubstantial to be substantial. Without the Buddha's teachings, we can't find our way out of this trap. The unique feature of Mahayana is a strong emphasis on liberating all sentient beings and a very subtle analysis of the true nature of things. We learn to recognize our basic ignorance, our mistaken conceptions about the nature of reality, down to the subatomic particle level. Finding no true existence anywhere, we realize that all phenomena are dependently arising, empty of true existence. If phenomena were truly existent, then there could be no dependent arising. Phenomena would be fixed, static, impervious to change, and we'd be stuck in samsara forever. Because phenomena are empty of true existence and arise interdependently, we can change our thinking, change our karma, and get free from the trap. In the Vajrayana tradition, and here I have to make a disclaimer, to be called a Vajrayana practitioner is a very significant claim, and I cannot claim to have the qualities of a Vajrayana practitioner. I can only simulate or aspire to those. In any case, the Vajrayana tradition, a branch of Mahayana, also teaches a new way to perceive the world. Instead of seeing ourselves as substantial creatures trapped in a solid, totally bleak and depressing world, we imagine ourselves as awakened beings in a perfect world. To destroy our mistaken illusions about the world, we imagine ourselves as pure, perfected, awakened beings in a pure, perfected, awakened world. This is an illusion, but we are aware that it's an illusion, a creation of our own mind. In this way, we break through the mind-numbing trap of beginningless ignorance and the subsequent 12 links that lead to repeated birth, sickness, old age, and death. We replace ignorance with wisdom and self-concern with compassion for others. We gain control over our own mind and begin to create an awakened world. imagined as a pure land. We become free from ignorance, free from our obsession with I, me, mine, and realize our potential for awakening. In this way, we can save ourselves, save the planet, and save all sentient beings. Ultimately, the only way to be free from sickness, old age, and death is to be free from ignorance. So let's develop wisdom and give it a try. Thank you for your patient listening.
You're muted.
I am? Oh.
No, I mean,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, Lekshay. That was really delightful and so to the point. So appreciate it. And because of that, we have a good bit of time now for questions and for our teachers to respond. So what I'd like to ask here, since there are more of us that can fit on one screen, if my co-hosts, Porani and Steve, can help me out here, I'll keep an eye on the first screen and ask anyone who has a question to raise their hand. And then I'll check in with Porani to see if you can keep an eye on the second screen, Porani, and see if there are any hands raised there. And Steve, if you would keep an eye on the chat, and if anyone would like a question, to ask a question through the chat, please type it in there, and I'll ask Steve to read your question. So let me start here with, make sure I'm in the right view. And any hands raised who would like to ask a question? And if you would, just to so we can get more questions, please direct your question to one of our speakers, and then we can have more folks participate if possible. So who has a question? I see Andy Hoffman there with a question. Andy, you want to unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay. I'll direct this to Lekshay. And I'm wondering if we're talking about interdependence, how does understanding of ignorance enable us to escape from interdependence?
Very good question. Well, there are two ways that we can break through ignorance and escape from this cycle. The first is understanding the law of cause and effect. As I mentioned, due to our mistaken understanding of the way things are interrelated, we continue to create the causes of misfortune, and we fail to create the causes of fortune, good fortune. So we keep making blunders instead of, well, we do our best, of course, but by understanding the law of cause and effect, we can become more mindful, more careful of every action of body, speech, and mind. Now, the second way in which we can understand this is to understand ignorance as ignorance of the way in which things exist. Mm-hmm. We see things as pleasant when in fact they're not. Even things that appear to be pleasant will come to an end, as Venerable Dhammananda said. So we continue to create the causes of misery through our actions, our unfortunate actions, our unskillful actions of body, speech, and mind. So we continue to see things that are impermanent as permanent, and we continue to see things that are insubstantial as substantial. So you'll recognize here the three marks of existence: dukkha, anicca, anatta. Okay, things are unsatisfactory, they're impermanent, and they're insubstantial. But in our ignorance, we continue to see them as pleasant, as permanent, and as substantial. And due to this ignorance, we fall in the trap, especially the trap of clinging to the self.
But let me ask you, even if we are no longer ignorant, even if we've ended our ignorance, do things still not exist and arise interdependently?
Right. Well, okay, two questions here. First of all, if we had ended our ignorance, we would not be in samsara. We would have achieved awakening and we would be free from samsara. We'd be free from the whole cycle because we would have cut off the very first link, which is ignorance, as Venerable Dhammananda explained. We're on this cycle that keeps turning, but if we could cut to our ignorance, we could reverse the whole cycle. We could be free from all of these links that lead to repeated existence, sickness, old age, and death. But another question that you're asking is that, does the lack of true existence mean that things don't exist? Not at all. The things exist, they just don't exist in the way they appear to exist. They appear to exist as pleasant, permanent, and substantial. Whereas in fact, they're not, right? So things exist. This stuff out here exists. But due to our ignorance, we misconceive how these things exist. And that's the problem. Because we think our car or our house or our partner is permanent, we cling to them. And on that basis, we make a lot of mistakes. You see, because of our beginningless ignorance. So that's where we have to turn the whole thing around. And that means we have to study the Dharma. We have to study and we have to practice, right? And so that's all we have to do. But the Buddha was very careful to say that things do exist. If we say that nothing exists, then we fall into the nihilistic extreme. If we say that things exist permanently, we fall into the, absolute extreme, the extreme of permanence. So he forged a middle way. Things exist, they just don't exist the way we think they do.
Thank you, Lekshay. Anyone else? Porny, do you have anybody on your second screen there with a hand up?
No, but I have my housemate who got in and want to ask question.
Okay.
So this one is go to anyone who would like to answer, including Luang Pi from Long Man Dhammananda. Can dependent origination or arising help us understand and deal with the crisis in Ukraine? And anyone, Bishop Watanabe or Luang Pi Surirat, who sit in for Dhammananda. I think what he wants to know is how can we apply this cause and effect to understand and deal with the crisis in Ukraine. I wonder if Luang Pi Surirat is still there. No. Okay. How about Bishop Watanabe? From that intranet that you mentioned, can we use that intranet explanation? The way. How would you, as a practice of this, help if someone in your temple asks that?
That is a very good, very interesting question. I wouldn't put this like with the but dependent arising origination, but I think I guess I guess right now, we see as Russia as being bad. Yeah. But I guess in a Buddhist way, they're suffering too, right? In their illusion, right? And but because we can't go to Russia and try to enlighten them, or I'm not sure if they have access to the internet or whatever, but I guess and this is just coming from a Shingon perspective, is to what I guess pray, not who wins, but the conflict just ends, that will end the suffering, of the Ukrainian people, but also the suffering of the Russian people too. So it's not a matter of we want them to lose or whatever. I guess in any conflict, there is that, they're sort of deluded, I guess, in a way. So I think this may not be an answer on the topic, but I guess in that sense, they're again, the Russian people or the people in power are deluded too, that they create suffering not only for the Ukrainian people, but for their own citizens. And how to resolve that? I guess in a Shingon way is just to pray for them, and then sort of work again, not only to pray, but put into action peaceful resolution, instead of conflict resolution. I think is something, yeah. So I guess that's probably, again, I don't, not specifically dependent origination, but just from how to see it. I guess again the middle way. They're not just aggressors, right? And whatnot. Yes, that's probably my answer.
Okay, thank you. Anyone, Michael, could we maybe ask for the open? Because I think Ukraine, we also have a monthly peace prayer for Ukraine. So I think it's on people's mind. Anyone would like to express how they look at this, how they look at this situation, and as a Buddhist, how they look at this and how they deal with it.
Oh,
Or
we have
does
a
anyone?
question from Daria.
Great. Thank you, Steve.
Question to Lecce and others. It would
Okay.
seem ignorance is identified as a cause of existence, and yet if there's no origin or independence of any phenomena, what is the cause of ignorance? Isn't ignorance also dependent upon a cause and condition? If so, what would that be?
Well, when the Buddha was asked, he explained that ignorance is beginningless. He didn't trace a cause of ignorance. Ignorance itself exists. And things also exist, right? As I explained. What the problem is that we don't understand the way things exist. I mean, getting back to the question of Russia and Ukraine, it's a perfect illustration of how people based on ignorance, get attached to their own power, their own economic advantage, their own nationalistic advantage. You see? So the basic root cause is ignorance itself. So cutting through ignorance will not erase things. The things are not the problem. The problem is basic ignorance in how we look at the world, our perspective on things. My things are more valuable than your things. My country is more valuable than your country, right? And we can see this in daily life. So I think daily life is an excellent teacher. It shows us how we cling to our own advantage continuously. And it causes us to do unwholesome actions. This is the point, right? We will falsify things. Sometimes we'll take what we are not given. Sometimes we will harm other beings. All due to this mistaken sense of self. Ignorance, basic ignorance. We got to work our way out of this basic ignorance.
Thank you. Do we have other questions, either on our topic? Sue, do you have your hand up there? Is that a hand up? Okay, why don't you go ahead?
I think this is, thank you. I think this is also a question for Venerable Lekshi because it's related to what we've just been talking about, I think. The one idea that really grabbed me as a child was learning about the law of conservation of matter and energy, that everything, all things, all stuff in the universe is just changing form. It doesn't go anywhere, which means it didn't come from anywhere either. You were talking at the very beginning of your talk, you referenced why we would say dependent arising instead of dependent origination. When you have a matter and energy constantly changing form, it would appear on the surface that that's a closed system and small, but in reality, it's not closed. Anyway, would you say a few words about that?
Oh, I like the direction you're taking this to a very practical level, and especially pointing to our imminent, environmental collapse. This interrelatedness of things is a perfect illustration of what we're talking about and how ignorance leads us to engage in actions that are harmful to ourselves and others and the environment. I mean, just for our own convenience, we buy things in plastic bottles, right? And where do they go? We know that the fish, people are still using plastic straws. People are still using takeout containers that are not compostable. So for our own convenience, attachment to our own desire for pleasure or avoidance of inconvenience, we do these things, and they all have an effect. See, this is a perfect example. The root cause, of course, is attachment to ourself. If we cared as much about the other 7.5 billion human beings and the countless billions of fish, we would live our lives differently. We would make different choices in what we buy, what we use, how we travel, what we eat, right? This is very good. I appreciate that you made it very practical, very down to earth.
Do you think it's a biological imperative that we tend to put ourselves in the center of things? We talk about it in terms of greed, hatred, and ignorance, but is it seems to sometimes to be cooked into our makeup as humans in a physical way too.
I don't think so. There are those scientists who say the fact that we're still here would argue for our wisdom in small ways. If we want to stick around, we need to do things in a different way. If that iceberg falls in Antarctica, we're stuffed, and so small things do affect the whole. They affect us, and therefore, I think that that we can correct them rather than bemoaning them or blaming. Of course, it's very easy to blame the big corporations and, you know, the big polluters and so on. But if each one of us took steps to unmask our own ignorance and correct our own behaviors, that would really actually begin to solve the problem, because it also illustrates to others that there's a different way to live. So I don't agree that it's baked into our DNA to be selfish. On the contrary, what they're finding is that those cultures that value compassion last longer, are healthier, are happier, and therefore they survive longer than societies where it's dog eat dog, violent, killing cultures. So I think we as a nation need to look at that too, as a community. I mean, right? Uncomfortable thought, but I mean, there's a point at which we need to take responsibility for our own actions and understanding the consequences of our actions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to ask? We've got time for one more question, a brief one, and a brief response. There's not. Can't hear you, Susan.
So it's currently forgot to unmute. Okay.
Oh, there we are.
Okay. I got one. I think Steve missed it. So may I read it? It's from to any teacher. How to talk to someone who seems deeply trapped in the 12-point cycle. What to say? Any teacher? Lecture Bishop Watanabe? You know, Ken, this is from Ken. Ken, would you have, I think, you know, I read it again. To any teacher, how to talk to someone who seems deeply trapped in the 12-point cycle. What to say? So let's share how you understand that question, or you want him to explain?
Well, I think that the one that we can change is ourselves. If we have an opportunity to speak to someone and they're open to the conversation, then we have to use skillful means. I think that most importantly, we need to be concerned about our own behavior, because that's what we can change. We can't change all the other people out there, but we can change our own attitudes and our own actions. And that will help to send a message, hopefully, if we do it well, right, to others. But if we go around telling people how to live their lives, I'm afraid we're not going to be very popular. So, right, will it be effective, or will it just cause anger in the person, right? It might turn them off of Buddhism altogether if people come off self-righteous and so on. But if people are open and want to learn about how to untangle themselves from the cycle, we can be helpful, of course. Happy to help. What do you think, Bishop Watanabe?
I totally agree. I guess in Buddhism, we should set that example, right? And then, so as you said, if we, as my Christian neighbor always say, pontificate, about how, deluded you are or whatever, then you'll just make people angry, and so I think, we as Buddhists should set the example first, and then, we can show, in my life, it was this, kind of thing, instead of sort of like, again, pontificating, on how wrong or deluded you are, kind of things. So I think, again, we should set the example first.
I think this is a perfect place to wrap up. And I want to thank our speakers and chanters again, and all of you for coming. And I am also thinking we will end with the recitation of the Metta Sutta. Our board member, Reen Mansho, will recite it for us. And it's also a wonderful response to the question that was raised. What do we do? How do we speak to someone? How do we relate to someone deeply embedded in the ways of the world? So thank you all, and please mute yourself and follow along if you are so inclined. But we want just the one voice. So Reen, it's all yours.
Thank you, Michael. And I think everybody's feeling the synergy of how this whole session today ties perfectly into the Metta Sutta, and how it was a sobering discussion. It was very practical what we were hearing. I just wanted to share, though, that it's enlightening, that because the Metta Sutta is to guide us to use loving kindness in our everyday lives. And we wish, Buddha's teachings wishing for happiness with all beings, to act to others in a loving way. So thank you to our speakers today for instilling and inspiring us to continue to do good things, because this is a Metta Sutta with our mind in every interaction that we have. And we're going to speak kind words and avoid conceit and greed, and to wish no harm upon others. Here's the Metta Sutta.
Okay,
May all beings be happy. May they be joyous and live in safety. All living beings, whether weak or strong, in high or middle or low realms of existence, small or great, visible or invisible, near or far, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let none deceive another, nor despise any being in any state. Let none by anger or hatred with harm to another. Even as a mother, at the risk of her life, watches over and protects her only child, so with a boundless mind should one cherish all living things, suffusing love over the entire world, above, below, and all around, without limit. So let each cultivate an infinite goodwill toward the whole world. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This ends our program. Please join HABE if you're not a member already, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Sorry, Reen, I couldn't put it up.
I was looking for it.
Yeah, I'm looking for it, and then it just keep on the wow humankind. It wouldn't let